believe that Stone's dead. Do you want to say a few words?
Few words won't bring him back. I'm not a wizard, Sam.
It's hard to believe Jonathan would kill him with a chainsaw. I mean, where would he even get the idea to do something like that?
Probably gangster rap, violent video games, and horror movies. The real question is why anyone would have a chainsaw on a space station to begin with. Do you see any trees?
Well, at least the new girl terminated him before he could kill anyone more important.
Jessica. My name is motherfucking Jessica.
Completely unrelated, but has anyone located Dan? Ever since he escaped the med bay, I'm worried sick that he's alone and afraid. We really need to find him.
Don't worry, we'll find him, Pinky promise.
Message received. Waking crew from cryosleep.
Top of the morning, my fellow carbon-based human life forms. It's me, totally human Jonathan, your friend. I am awake now as well.
Jonathan's a goddamn robot.
I hope they sent in my warranty card.
Get off my ship, bitch.
I think we're okay.
This is fucking great, man! Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? This is some pretty real shit now, man! Game over, man! Game over!
Crew extremely expendable.
Welcome back to Region Free and a very chilly February of 2025, which is not a real year. Waiting for the inevitable relaunch of a new season of Monster Quest so I can sleep properly to cryptids not being found on television. Hoping everyone out there is doing well.
There's always season 30.
You know, in the YouTube world, I'm not sure if there's a place for Monster Quest, right? And that's kind of depressing. Because Monster Quest was the most clear like successor to that In Search of thing. Whereas we pretended we were getting something deep and meaningful and frightening, and really we were just getting a, endless babble about something we all would like to be real.
Well, I'm not giving up hope for Mothman. I don't know. Was there ever a period in your guys' lives where you thought, like, maybe, Sasquatch isn't so far-fetched? I mean, dinosaurs walk the earth. I mean, there's stranger things.
When I was 12 or 13, I was obsessed with the fucking chupacabra, because they had a couple of those quote unquote sightings on the local news.
Yes.
Or at least evidence of sightings.
But to be fair, I mean, Sam, you kind of hate goats, so that makes sense.
I don't hate goats. I love goats. They're delicious. They make the
delicious.
best milk and soap.
Yeah, they are uniquely.
Whales are pretty good soap.
But look, it's funnier when goats scream. It's not very funny when whales scream. They just they're too relaxing.
This is true. Sam, you have to see Chupacabra versus the Alamo with Eric Estrada. It is a garbage movie classic.
Oh my god. Okay.
I want to report for the next show.
Okay. Homework. I'm gonna go find that. What year was it? Was it 2000s or before?
2000s.
Oh, that's gonna be some grade A trash then.
It is. It is. You haven't lived until you've seen the guy from Chips do battle with chupacabras.
Well, it's like, once we got into the 2000s, we could really use the shitty CGI like more cheaply, and all the direct-to-video and direct-to-DVD stuff was just wild. Like, it was stuff that we couldn't necessarily do with the direct-to-DVD and video stuff in the 90s.
Yeah. It's not a meme movie. At least they try. So there is a distinction of, 06 or whenever that was made to now. So I will say that.
Okay.
See, it's just so weird because, like, go back a couple decades and the Legend of Boggy Creek is made for no money whatsoever.
Yeah.
And yet it does have a weird verisimilitude to it. Whereas, like, despite the shitty acting, the lack of a score, it still plays, right? But like when we try to do that in the CGI era, inevitably we're gonna fail hard. And you can enjoy it failing hard. Don't get me wrong. We all love some shit. But it's just weird that you used to be able to make good films in spite of the limitations, and now the limitations are kind of not there, and it's easier to make a bad film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all about getting the art. And
wait, we got the definitive word on the chupacabra here.
Chupacabras are definitely real. Okay.
I don't know how to say that. We were just in Louisiana last weekend too. We didn't have a chance to look for one of those things.
I just went through Louisiana.
I
just went through Louisiana. Yeah, just to let everybody know, I'm in Pensacola, Florida at the moment to go to Pensacon, meet some celebrities, get some signatures and everything. And I was going to say, a recommendation in that Boggy Creek camp, because I did a commentary on it for the 50th anniversary a few years ago. The modern day equivalent of that would be Bigfoot versus D.B. Cooper, made by a guy who is very, very gay. And it just has somebody show up at a cabin in the middle of the woods and all the guys have shirts off. But yeah, there's actual battle, Bigfoot versus D.B. Cooper.
Well, you see, now there's a missed opportunity there because I feel like there's no way to get to that scene of a parachuting Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we all want that to happen in a film called D.B. Cooper versus Bigfoot.
Yeah.
He's had some interesting matchups.
All right, so I hate to bring the mood down, but we kind of have to go there. Give me a moment and I have to master some technology.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
So we lost perhaps one of the most unique voices in film history. A man who probably doesn't get the credit for the innovation he's accomplished and probably still is decades away from being recognized for what he accomplished. A guy who had a cult following, obviously. In fact, his name is pretty much synonymous with the word cult film. A guy who was one of the first midnight movies, the pioneer that gave me one of the first midnight movie experiences of my life in Eraserhead. And someone who, while you can't say he never failed. That would be ridiculous. But there was even in his failures, which were few, there is a legitimate yearning to create something the world hadn't seen before. And that's noble. We live in a world where many films, including what we're going to talk about later, really have nothing to say. They have nothing to bring, nothing new to present. Lynch was the antithesis of that. And the world of film, and maybe just the world in general, is a little more empty without him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace Lynch. You can't mimic Lynch at all. It's just his style is so distinct. I mean, we don't have. I mean, people call certain movies Lynchian, but we don't have a lot of. How do you do a knockoff of Mulholland Drive? You don't. You know, Eraserhead. I mean, there's certainly movies that were inspired by that, but you can't really recreate Eraserhead. He is very distinct, and I know, again, not for everybody. I know some people out there who aren't big fans, but he did strive to bring something different, and he did. Virtually every project that he had, you could, again, another one you can argue whether he made a bad movie. I would say Inland Empire, unfortunately. So
wow,
Cronenberg,
some of the shorts are not successful either. If we're being fair.
Yeah, features, I suppose I should say. But yeah, I mean, I guess Cronenberg still kind of has that crown for never truly making a bad movie. But Lynch is close, and I've been revisiting his stuff. Of course, he had just basically passed when we did last month, so we didn't really have time to prepare much for a segment on him. And I got about 6 of his movies rewatched, and he's just man, you just lose so much with him, because I don't know that we're ever going to get another Twin Peaks or even lesser Lynch. Something like Dune. You can still see the mark of a genius there. It's still in the bones of that movie, and very, very sad.
Dan, let me ask you something. I know that science fiction isn't the cornerstone of your fandom, but
I'm a big sci-fi fan, actually. I just don't get to talk about it much.
Well, I mean, do you think, because I honestly don't, I think that the modern look of science fiction owes a lot more to David Lynch's Dune than any other film in the history of that genre.
Oh, no, absolutely.
People want to make some kind of cry for Star Trek or Star Wars. Ask yourself, what really, there was nothing before Dune that looked like Dune in the sci-fi genre. There was plenty that looked like Star Wars and Star Trek before that.
Yeah, no, aesthetically, Dune is very influential, and it doesn't get the credit. And I do like Dune. When I say lesser Lynch, I mean,
no, that's fair. That's a fair acknowledgement. The second half is a problem, but
yeah, it's, and I think with the Jodorowsky stuff too, that there's a lot of what if surrounding that movie. If you've read the Dune books, which I did when I was younger, it's a challenging adaptation. I mean, there's a lot there. It's a very meaty series of books. But yeah, no, I agree. Even if it's not entirely successful, Dune is right there as far as influencing the genre going forward.
I always felt the arrival of the Navigator in the beginning of Dune looks the most like a pulp sci-fi paperback cover than anything ever. It's amazingly pulpy, and it's amazingly it doesn't feel embarrassed of what it is. And that's kind of the only film I can really compare that to is Kubrick's 2001, which is a very different aesthetic. But sci-fi usually has a little bit of a niggling little tingle in the back of your skull, whereas it feels a little embarrassed of itself. And Dune doesn't have that. Dune is playful. It is incredibly detailed. It has a point of view. It's shadowy in moments and strange, and it loves itself for being all those things. I think as much crap as people give that movie, we could have had a lot better of a time if that was as influential as Star Wars on the mass population of filmgoers.
Yeah, Dirk has an interesting question and about Lynch if he took the Star Wars job. I often wonder with him. I mean, what would it look like if you just gave him a couple $100 million and let him do whatever he wanted?
Wow.
It would be interesting. I guarantee you wouldn't forget it.
I think you kind of have the answer to that in Twin Peaks season 3, actually.
Well,
without going crazy with people, like the Twin Peaks thing is, and it's not that he didn't want to tell the story he told. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying that, but the Twin Peaks is the story of how mass communication and entertainment media changed the culture of America. That is what Twin Peaks is. And there's a moment in the 3rd season where he uses an incredibly cheap looking CGI effect intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he's acknowledging is that the special effect has nothing to do with storytelling. If you're living and dying by a special effect, your film's already off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And remember, David Lynch is a guy who, I would say, the baby in Eraserhead is one of the best special effects ever made.
Oh yeah,
that absolutely looks like a real fucking creature.
It does. I mean, I remember when I first watched that, thinking like, Jesus Christ,
or an Elephant Man. That makeup,
yeah,
as it's featured, is 100% convincing. So it's not that he doesn't like special effects, but I think he's making a meta comment about where we stand in some of this of our entertainment, of like just leaning so heavy on special effects that we forget about telling stories, or at least telling new stories.
Yes.
That, like, if you guys were at Disney and you were going to start making those new Star Wars movies, none had been made yet.
Mm.
I could tell whether you deserve to have the job or not if you said, well, we have to get the Millennium Falcon in this movie because it's iconic. I would have fired you. Your head's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
That brings up an awesome story. One of my favorite David Lynch interviews is when, after The Elephant Man got like 8 Academy Award nominations and massive critical reception and everything, George Lucas called him up and asked to see him, wondering if he would like to do Return of the Jedi. And David Lynch, it's on YouTube, but David Lynch tells the story where, he had to, pick up a key, jump on a plane. He met George, and they talked for 5 minutes. And George is like, okay, I want to show you something, David. So he brings him upstairs, and David says, now, about this time, I had started to get a little bit of a headache because he started talking about Wookiees. And as he started talking more and more about all these creatures and designs that he made, the headache was becoming bigger and bigger. And then we decided to jump in a car and go to a restaurant. And he says, not that I have anything against salad, but that's all they served was salad at this restaurant.
Yeah.
And he said, look, God bless you, George, but look, you should be the one directing this movie, not me. And the reason why he ended up getting Dune was he made a deal with Dino De Laurentiis, where Dino said, tell you what, you make Dune for me, I'll make something for you. And that turned out to be Blue Velvet. Me personally, my first David Lynch experience was Lost Highway.
Oh, okay.
And I was not prepared for who the hell David Lynch was in 1997. I mean, all I knew about him was Twin Peaks. In 1990, I was 10 years old. Everybody was talking about Twin Peaks. Everybody and their grandmother was talking about Twin Peaks. It was like, television had changed completely at that time. I wish that it had been a cable show, because I think that he would have gone really hog wild in his ideas, and he probably could have kept the show going. Because as a lot of Twin Peaks fans know, he never meant to solve the mystery on what happened to her. He never meant to solve that mystery. He just wanted to do all these stories in the town of Twin Peaks, essentially. And I didn't see Twin Peaks until years later, but I love the first season. The second season wore me down, so I haven't seen the third one yet. But when I saw Fire Walk With Me, which you're, I guess, supposed to watch between the second season and the third season, this is one of my favorite horror films of the 90s.
Oh, you
You
got
know, along with like, oh, well, go ahead. Sorry.
You have to get to season 3 then.
I know. I'm going to watch season 3. There are 3 Lynch movies I haven't watched yet: Wild at Heart, Dune, and Inland Empire. I've seen his other 7 films, but those I haven't. And just as a real quick segue, I have Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me on Blu-ray. This Criterion Blu-ray, they just came in stock again after he died. And I'm going to have Ray Wise, who plays the father, sign it tomorrow because Cheryl Lee unfortunately canceled. But the other David Lynch film I have on Criterion may be my favorite, which is The Elephant Man. And recently I showed Sam and Chris The Elephant Man. And Sam, what were your thoughts on The Elephant Man real quick?
I've always been interested in The Elephant Man, like the story of Joseph Merrick anyway, because I'm interested in, circus sideshow acts. We used to have a circus museum in San Antonio called the Hertzberg. And I remember going to that a couple of times when I was a kid and just spending forever just reading all the different information they had about the sideshow freaks. And, well, I say freaks, not in the pejorative, but in a very affectionate sense. So, I was also interested in, Joseph Merrick, and I wasn't really familiar. I am really kind of like ignorant of most of David Lynch's work, not because I want to be, but it's like, well, I missed that train. Again, it's like the Doctor Who thing. Missed the Doctor Who thing. I can't catch up. Missed the Twin Peaks thing. I don't have time to go through all of that. It's not something I can put on in the background.
The journey.
Yeah, but I love The Elephant Man, and it's a beautiful look at identity and what defines a person. And it was actually like a really nice, to follow that up. We watched Sebastian Stan's A Different Man, because that's also, again, about identity. But the thing is, with A Different Man, there's a character that shows up later who is played by Adam Pearson, who actually does have that disorder. And that's genuinely how he looks. It's, not a mask. Whereas Sebastian Stan, he's wearing prosthetics before he's like cured at the beginning of the movie. But that one's really interesting because you're watching Sebastian Stan, like he got what he wants, kind of like in a little bit of the Substance way, but he's looking at this, what could have been for him if perhaps he had, not sought that cure out. Like having to watch his potentiality, like be tied to that forever, like looking at alternate universe him. No, but I mean, like, I love The Elephant Man. That was wonderful.
It's a film about a abnormal man who is very well versed in the art of dreaming, but cannot sleep like a normal man. That is David Lynch.
True. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Very David Lynch.
I remember going into Mulholland Drive, which I've probably been back and forth over the years, but I would consider my favorite Lynch movie. And thinking like it, knowing like, okay, this started out as a pilot. I really didn't think it was going to be good going into it. I just felt like there was a lot of issues, and I got to sit down and watch that movie, and I'm like, oh my God, like, considering the history of this movie. And I think at one point, I believe it was in early development, was going to be a spinoff of Twin Peaks. The big Twin Peaks fans can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I heard that at some point. Yeah, I mean, what we got, I mean, Naomi Watts in that movie is about as spellbinding as it gets as far as the performance goes. And man, I think it might be the definitive LA movie in a lot of ways. And it's also one of those films that you're rewarded with repeated viewings. Like, how many modern day movies have entire websites dissecting the meaning of the movie? Like, deep dive into Mulholland Drive. It's crazy. I don't think that the movie is as hard to understand as some people make it out to be, but nonetheless, I mean, it's spellbinding. It's so good. And yeah, I think because I was even looking up, like there's a multi-layered analysis of Mulholland Drive by Alan Shaw. He's like one guy that I think runs a website, and I refreshed myself with all this different stuff going into the show tonight, and it's amazing to me. There's none of that nowadays, and yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. Mulholland Drive is the dream, the reality, and it is the dream turn the harsh reality, and it is just such a beautiful movie. It really is. And if you haven't dived into David Lynch, don't go in thinking like you're not going to get anything or it's beyond you. It really isn't. And I think Mulholland Drive, if that might be a good entry point. I know some people will disagree. A lot will say Blue Velvet, but we were talking before the show about if Blue Velvet, Lorne had mentioned if it came out today, I don't know that it would get the same reaction because, the world's a lot stranger. And I don't know that it would quite have that same reaction. But I can honestly say if Mulholland Drive came out in 2025, it would be just as special. And yeah, so for that reason, it's my favorite thing I think Lynch has ever done.
For those who have never seen a David Lynch film, what do you think is the most accessible? Where do you think people should start? Do you think they should start with Eraserhead, or do you think they should start with something like The Straight Story, which is yeah?
I'm gonna tell you right now that if you want to get into Lynch and you want the most accessible Lynch film, you're starting in the wrong place. Enjoy Lynch for what he was. Don't try and ease into it. Start with Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Just start with Eraserhead. If you can't enjoy Eraserhead, he's not for you. Move on. It's fine.
Yes.
There's other directors that'll be more to your taste, I promise. And I'm not casting any judgments on you. I'm just saying I would take the pure 3-year Philadelphia production of the pure art film first. And if you love that, there's a lot of great journey to take, I want to take exception to something you said, Stone. You're not factually wrong at all, but you said you wish that Twin Peaks had started out as a cable show. So there's this moment in the first season, it might be even in the pilot episode, in which Lucy, the receptionist at the police station, is watching the soap opera on the small little portable television that's on her desk. And Sheriff Harry S. Truman comes by and says, "Lucy, what's happening?" And she rattles off 7 things that are happening on the show. And he stops and says, "No, Lucy, what's happening here?" But the thing is, if you listen to what she actually just described as happening, it's all happening in the town of Twin Peaks. The names are different, but all of it's right there. And I think if it was on cable, that doesn't reflect quite as cleanly, because we were told we were getting a primetime soap opera from David Lynch and Mark Frost. So that expectation is brilliantly kind of subverted, and at the same time, he's kind of telling you what he's doing. He's just outright telling you. But because it seems like a comedic beat from one of the side characters, on first viewing, you just look right past it. But by the time you get to, the end of the series, or if you get to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, for that matter, the Garmonbozia thing, your pain and suffering is represented by creamed corn. It's a fucking television commercial in the middle of a movie.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a number of cases of that. So
yeah.
I'm kind of glad Twin Peaks exists exactly as it does. There's 3 distinct series of Twin Peaks. There's the network television version. There's the movie version, which starts with a television being hit by a sledgehammer, not coincidentally. And there's the, cable version. And I think that neatly plays, because if you look at where the state of the art was of storytelling, he took the primetime soap opera, and that, which was kind of thought of as the height of television at its time. I know that's insane to think of now, but it kind of was what people thought, the Dallas and the Dynasty. And then by the 90s, the proper 90s, it was feature film. It was the indie, kind of the indie Quentin Tarantino world of indie filmmaking that was on the big screen. Today, where would that, or a couple years ago when the season 3 premiered, where was that? What was in cable, right? So he kind of rode exactly where he should have been with this story about media. I love it. I love the entire Twin Peaks experience. Doesn't mean I don't have criticisms of certain little bits of it. I'm not one of those guys, but I'm glad it exists exactly as. I'm actually glad that Lynch's entire career exists as it does, even in Inland Empire, because you know what? A guy following his muse, even if it doesn't work, God, that's rare.
Yeah, I've only seen that movie once too, so I hate to be. I will revisit it at some point. It's a long one. You got to make the time for it.
It's on Criterion. Yeah, just like Elephant Man and Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. Like, what David Lynch film isn't on Criterion now? Dune and Straight Story and Wild at Heart.
Yeah, Straight Story is probably his least discussed film. It is a beautiful movie. I mean, it's a very good movie. Beautiful movie. Yeah. But hopefully now that one will get more of a look. Then somebody will put out a good edition of it.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, Dallas, Who Shot JR? I don't give a damn. But Dynasty, give me Alexis Carrington any day of the damn.
But Who Shot JR is Who Killed Laura Palmer. It's a straight line.
This is true.
It is. That's what Lynch basically was putting out to them. Oh, you're going to be obsessed over Who Shot JR? Well, I'm going to give you a murder mystery. We're never going to solve it. Well, he did.
Laura Palmer, yes.
Exactly. So again, it's like he was playing off of the storytelling tropes of the moment, and he continued to do that with that.
True. Mm-hmm.
There's a moment in Fire Walk Me. I'm sorry, I could do this all day with Lynch. So at some point, we're going to need to keep going. But there's that wonderful moment with Lil in Fire Walk with Me. It's this intentionally like over the top art film bullshit moment where a woman who doesn't speak but wears this dress and she's kissing at the camera and she's turning around, and then the FBI agents decode what it means. If you don't get that Lynch is mocking people who want to decode his movies, there's something wrong with you, right? And that kind of introspection and that kind of playfulness doesn't get discussed about with Lynch a lot, but it should be. He cast himself in Twin Peaks in a role of a guy who can't hear. What do you think he's saying there?
Yeah.
He speaks too loud because he can't hear. This guy knew. He knew, and it was cool discussing it.
Before we end the discussion on David Lynch, though, what do you think the future of David Lynch is? Do you think we're ever going to see Twin Peaks ever again? Do you think Jennifer Lynch, his daughter, is going to make something about him? Like, what do you see in the future, like for David Lynch?
I had high hopes for Jennifer Lynch, and I do think she's a good filmmaker. I mean, go check out Chained. I think Chained is really good. Boxing Helena. I do like that movie. I mean, it was a troubled production, but I mean, when you consider, I forget the exact age she was, but she was the youngest woman to ever direct a Hollywood movie. I don't know if anybody's ever taken that, but I mean, she was just in her 20s, like I think early 20s.
At the time, it was definitely
crazy.
Yeah. And you watch that movie. I mean, there is brilliance there, but I mean, she struggled. I mean, she came along at a very different time than her dad. So, and those are big shoes. I mean, how do you fill David Lynch's shoes? I'd like to see her still get a chance to make more projects though. But no, I mean, she'll never be David Lynch. It's just impossible.
Oh yeah.
But check out Boxing Helena. I know there's a lot of different opinions on that movie, but I still like it. I have the poster.
And after you check out all 10 of David Lynch films, when you check out Jennifer Lynch's films, also check out Surveillance, which features Bill Pullman, who was, of course, in Lost Highway. Yeah. I'll never forget that scene where Robert Blake approaches him at a party and says, "Well, I'm at your house." Like,
right
what?
Now.
He gives him a phone, and he calls up his home phone. He's like, "I told you I was here."
Yeah.
The hell? No, Robert Blake, aren't you like out somewhere murdering your wife or whatever?
Yeah. But Ghost is right. I mean, she has her own shoes. She has struggled on some projects for sure. Hiss, which I think came up earlier. Yeah. Big story behind that one.
I think if we're going to take anything from David Lynch, the answer to your question, Stone, should be that we shouldn't want more David Lynch. He's gone. His voice is silenced. And that's sad. But for anyone out there who wants to create something new, he wouldn't want you to ape him. He would want you to create your own thing, which is why he didn't make Return of the Jedi when it was Revenge of the Jedi. And I think that it's just, if we have a legacy for David Lynch, it's maybe that a generation of filmmakers have already grown up, but another generation will grow up with him as a touchstone. And maybe they'll be a little bit less fearful of alienating part of their audience by doing something that is a personal idea, or is just a piece of irreverence in a serious story, or going too far. I think I'm in the minority. I don't think Wild at Heart is a very great film. I think it's okay.
I figured that was not your favorite.
Yeah. I think it falls into that time period right before Lynch decided to go full tilt horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's elements in it, but he wasn't quite there. And I think it's just an awkward film. But here's the thing. I'm glad he made it because that's who he was at that moment. Who cares what I think? Like, really, besides me, no one should care what I think of his films. But when you get to Lost Highway, which has some just fantastic obscured storytelling, like it's told out of order, but you can't tell it's told out of order. It's a brilliant film. Mulholland Drive is a masterpiece, which only someone who can recalibrate his initial thoughts into a new piece of art. That's insane. Like I don't buy that there's many artists that could do that.
I can't. I mean, honestly, I don't understand how we got that. I mean, if you go into the history again of that movie, and it really is like, if you haven't seen it, sit down and watch it. But really sit down and watch it. Don't Lynch movies, like, don't be playing on your phone. You got to really sit down and just let the movie beam into your mind.
That ending from well, the entire third act from the masturbation sequence onward is so fucking intense.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Once the curtain is pulled back and you find out who the characters really are, as opposed to who they've been telling you they are.
Oh,
spoilers. Holy shit, that is intense stuff.
Yeah. The dream and the reality. Yeah.
Holy crap. I mean, by the time you get to the motion increased senior citizen couple, you're worn out. You don't have anywhere to hide from yourself watching this movie.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Truly, truly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up the masturbation scene, like, what a scene, and not, for any titillation purpose.
Oh, like, no, it's tragic. It's tragic.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Very tragic.
Yes. We got Ben Grimm with the masturbation sequence.
There we go. All right. I wanted to let this go because I think that it was important that we pay respects. Yes. Any final thoughts before we move on, though?
Just watch some Lynch movies you haven't seen, and I promise next month, top 10 fapping scenes in horror. We're making it happen.
When I said follow your muse would be David Lynch's request, that's not exactly what I had in mind.
It's too late. You can't take it back.
No.
Too late.
All right. Moving on.
You sure you heard something moving in there?
Yeah, a thump and a bump, like something alive moving around.
I guess that rules out of being Stone.
Jonathan.
Too soon?
It could be Dan. He could be hurt.
Open the grate. If it's anything but Dan, I'll put 158 grams of synthetic lead through its forehead.
Put the grate back on.
Yeah, those things could get into.
I mean, if we could get in, why wouldn't they be able to?
Back on the Empyrean, the beasts used the air vents to get around the ship. Almost like the writer forgot about that.
It's okay, I guess, as long as it's day. The monsters come out at night.
Mostly.
What the hell are you two talking about? There's never any sunlight on this moon. Do the aliens know how to read clocks? So I saw a movie this week.
And you loved it.
Someone talk about this piece of shit before I do.
All right. I didn't think it was that bad. Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I saw The Wolfman last month. My expectations were pretty fucking low. I just wanted to go and have fun, and that's what this movie gave to me. It was like, because you know how people like to, like, ironically watch Hallmark movies, and they get some sort of weird delight out of that? That's their thing. That's fine. So it was kind of like one of those movies, but with a slasher. And that made sense to me. It was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of those, you know, those little kind of like throwaway horror movies we'd get like every week after Scream came out in the 90s. And also kind of reminded me of when Blumhouse used to like also give us the throwaway movies, right? It was like the quality Blumhouse used to have when we were excited about them. So I didn't really have any expectations about this, but I was like, oh, that was enjoyable. Also, there is an homage to Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, which I am fine with. So.
Lorne has not seen Romeo and Michelle's high school.
You have not seen Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion? Please do it. It's so funny.
I will put money on it. What's the answer, Lorne?
What do you think the chances are that I would ever see Romeo and
It's
Michelle?
so funny.
I used to have to listen
And
to
they're
the
making a
soundtrack
sequel right now.
I used to have to listen to the soundtrack back in the record store days, though.
But you have to watch the
That
movie.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's the closest I've ever come.
They're making the sequel right now to Romeo and Michelle.
Oh, I'm glad that's going to be good for someone, not me.
As long as they have Janine Garofalo in there. That's all I care about.
Yes. I mean, there's a theme this year because, again, Hard Eyes is more comedy than horror. I mean, I would say it's a, you know, rom-com with horror elements and not the other way around. I just saw The Monkey last night. That is a comedy. It's a gory comedy, but that is a comedy. That is not a horror movie.
Nah. I'm going to see Companion next. The Monkey, Monkey's not for me. Not in theaters. Oz Perkins has to win me back after Long Legs.
Oh, I forgot you weren't a Long Legs fan. So.
You just convinced me Long Legs is a comedy, too. I've had that suspicion for months.
Well, not Long Legs is a horror movie, but I mean, you know, it does have some comedic elements, I suppose. Make no mistake, The Monkey is a full-on comedy. Now, I think it's funnier than Hard Eyes, personally. But yeah, I walked out of Hard Eyes and I'm like, oh my God, Lorne is going to be fucking miserable.
You know, like, I was surprised because it's like, I was like, Mason Gooding, oh, that's the less magnetic twin from Scream 5. And he was good in this. I was like, wait, what's the issue with like, oh, Mason Gooding and Mikey Madison can't give me shit in Scream 5, but apparently they're over here doing Hard Eyes, and Nora, she's getting rave reviews for that. I still haven't seen that one.
Nora's
what
great.
the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Also, when we get the eventual Barack Obama biopic, it's got to be Mason Gooding. I know it's
I see
a
it.
thing to think about, but I was like, man,
I see it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He would be perfect.
I get a vibe like very soon he's gonna be very overplayed because he's popping up in a lot of stuff, and I don't know. Not that he's a bad actor, just
we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just like, yeah. I don't know. I had fun. I had a fun time because, you know.
Once the motivation for the killer is revealed, I was like, Lorne is not gonna like this.
Fuck. The ending was like, what?
Yeah.
And the shittiest Scream movie ever, but that's not the point. And you know how I feel about Scream to begin with.
Gorier than the Scream movies.
Sure. Sure.
6 was gory, though.
I'll never know.
Yeah, that's true. You ended at 4, I believe.
I have this issue, and it's a Lorne issue. It's not, if anyone else doesn't have this issue, you're not wrong. I'm not right. It's just a Lorne issue. But god damn it, if I could erase the Gilmore Girls from existing, I would do it because
oh fuck, Stone's gonna fight you.
Dialogue has suffered immeasurably from the existence of that fucking show. And then you add the Gen Z mindset to it. These self-centered, fucking self-obsessed pieces of shit characters. I hated all of them. Every fucking person on screen. Everyone on screen annoyed the shit out of me. I didn't even want them to just die because the killer was fucking annoying. The killer looked like shit. Does anyone else not think that looked fucking like bad anime? That is shit. It doesn't work on any level. It's not funny. If it's a comedy, shouldn't someone in my theater have been laughing? I wasn't the only one not laughing. Everyone was fucking groaning. It's not fucking funny. Oh, they both lean down to pick up a napkin and they bump heads. That's a fucking joke.
That's
we name characters Shaw and Hobbs. That's a fucking joke. This is so shitty. And it is a fucking romantic comedy. Okay? That's fine. But here's the thing. There's movies that have tried to cross genre with the slasher film and done amazing things, like The Final Girls, like Detention. Great films that have different emotional stakes attached to the genre by taking another genre of film and attaching it to the slasher. It can be done. This was just annoying as shit. This was like so over the top, like Gen Z bullshit. There is like 7 scenes in this thing where our lead character, who we're supposed to like, but I hated the whole fucking way through, is looking at her ex-boyfriend on her fucking phone. Can you get more 2025 than that? Fuck you. I mean it. Fuck you. I don't want to watch someone look at a fucking screen in a fucking movie. As motivation for the character, what? Not being able to engage in a romantic situation? Well, how does that fucking make sense if you wouldn't let go of the last one? None of it makes any fucking sense. The character motivations are so fucking bad. There's a moment where a character literally stops in a fucking drive-in, stares into the camera, and tells you she's changed her mind about everything her character has been in the rest of the runtime. It's so fucking bad. And here's the thing that pisses me off the most. I was actually a defender of this motherfucker. Christopher Landon's Happy Death Day films are not great art, but they're perfectly serviceable time wasters. They're fine. They're programmers. Holy shit, this is a step down. It never looks good. The bad digital gore effects, there's some practical. That looks fine. But the bad digital, holy shit, that's sci-fi original bullshit.
Yeah.
And by the way, anyone who decides to hide from the killer in a death machine fucking deserves what they get.
That was very
Am I the only one that was, oh, well, that's a fucking stupid idea.
Definitely stupid character decisions.
All of it is fucking ridiculous. Also, like, can we what is going on that, like, the fucking killer can be wherever he needs to be, but it isn't kind of like a Jason Voorhees thing, okay? So Jason Voorhees is like in his element. He's not hiding in someone else's apartment closet and listening to like bullshit. Like he's at the late stages of the meet cute. It's bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. It's so insulting. It was so painful for me. I'm glad I didn't pay for the ticket. I'm seriously glad I didn't pay for this ticket. If you want a horror film, go see a horror film. It's not this. If you want a romantic comedy, I guess go see this if you like really fucking horrible romantic comedies. And there's a point where on a telephone call, they list, there's dialogue that lists every like romantic comedy that was big in the last 40 years. That's as clever as this movie gets. That's it. That's all that's here. Fuck this movie. Fuck its shitty multiple killer Scream ending. I don't care if I ruin it. I fucking don't care. It can't even keep that shit but straight, by the way. Like, the logic does not work to that fucking scene.
You definitely have to be able to let a lot go in the finale. It's like, okay, that's the reason. Sure.
Can I have one likable character if you want to pull this shit off? One. Give me one likable character. Or at least relatable. I don't have to like them, but I can relate to them. I can't relate to these fucking people.
I can't really relate to anybody that age anymore anyways, but
okay, this gets sound like a really stupid nitpick. And again, it's a Lorne thing. If you guys love the movie, you enjoy it. But who dressed these characters?
Okay, thank you.
Holy shit.
Thank you for bringing up the wardrobe, because the whole time I was sitting there wondering, are tights with shorts back? Can I wear that again? That sounds great.
Well, and fucking did Chris Landon not understand that like fucking shoulder pads on women are no longer a thing?
I haven't seen that unless it is again. I don't know.
Holy shit.
I don't know. The best moment is when the killer was hit with the dildo.
Speaking of dildos.
Yeah, speaking of dildos.
Oh, man. Not dildo. I'm a dildo, buddy.
Mask of the Devil incidentally has a better dildo sequence.
Yeah. The Dill Dude is your new nickname, Jonathan. We're gonna
Dill Dude.
The Dill Dude.
I really like pickles.
Just real quick, because I want Jonathan to say a few things if he's seen the movie. I'm not sure, but if I had gone to the theater this past weekend, I wouldn't have gone to see Hard Eyes. I would have gone to see Paddington in Peru. Okay, that's more my jam than just another.
We have a new Paddington movie?
Yes, we have another Paddington movie.
You know that Nicolas Cage movie unironically got me to watch Paddington 2? And it is a great film.
Really?
Yeah. This is the massive, unbearable weight of massive talent or whatever.
Paddington is an unintentional horror icon because they edit him into all these horror trailers on YouTube, and it's just hilarious.
Does anybody have the Paddington in Peru cutout in their theater yet, where you can put your face through?
No.
Oh,
look.
Really? Okay, because Chris took a picture in it. I'm going to see if I can find it.
How did you squeeze a Chris into a Paddington?
Oh, it's amazing. I
just thought of it. Brilliant.
7-foot Paddington?
All right. It's honestly very funny. I just sent it to one of the group chats, Stone, that you're in. Let me just send it to Region Free also, because why the fuck not? I don't know if there's a way to... Huh?
When Paddington goes in the public domain, I'm going to make a movie called Paddington Blood and Marmalade.
Like, I don't know if there's a way that Lorne can bring this up and put on the screen, because it's honestly pretty hysterical. But for now, I'm just going to be a boomer and hold my phone up to the screen. Oh, no, there's really no way to see that. There's too much of a glare.
He looks very, very happy, and I've got to think.
Did you send it to the Region Free chat?
Yeah, I did.
I can get it on the screen.
Now, is he sitting down?
I just have to wait for Lorne to come back, and then he'll bring it.
Oh my God, please do, because like, I can't believe I forgot to send that off. I should make that my wallpaper, to be fair.
There you go. There you go. But no, that is it was interesting because seeing the monkey, which I did like better. I think that might get maybe a few chuckles out of Lorne. There we go.
Amazing.
Yeah. There it is.
I need to take more photos with the cutouts, to be honest. But yeah,
I need to try to get some, dude. I bet they just throw them away.
They're supposed to. Yeah, that unfortunately, that's like a thing. Like they are supposed to destroy them. But if you have a hookup,
I had a Duke. You remember Duke Nukem? Anybody else know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Duke Nukem Forever came out. There was a cutout where you could be Duke. I had one of those for a while.
That's cool.
Before I sold it. Yeah, GameStop, my local GameStop used to give me everything, like all of like the big displays, like for the games and everything, and the posters. I had the hookup, man.
I feel like GameStop is going to be more chill about that than movie theaters, so.
They started locking their dumpster. which I know wasn't cool.
Rude.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, interesting decisions though, because like the monkey was much less a horror movie than I was expecting. Now, it was a dark comedy, so I kind of feel like it's definitely better than Hard Eyes. I think some of the humor will land more. It's mean, which I like, but nothing to do like totally different from the Stephen King short. So I don't know. This could be the year of the horror comedy.
I don't want it to be the year of the horror comedy because I don't know. I mean, to be fair, like last year we had Lisa Frankenstein, and that was solid for me. But I really don't need that oversaturation.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get some pure, mean, spirited, old-fashioned horror later in the year. And we are still getting that, but yeah, no, going into this year, everybody was like, it's going to be slashers again on the big screen, which, we get plenty of slashers, but you're fairly rare on the big screen. But it's interesting to me now. It seems like they're going more for the comedy. So we'll see.
And forgive me for mentioning it, but this year we're going to, of course, get 2 Bride of Frankenstein movies. One from Guillermo del Toro and the other one from Maggie Gyllenhaal.
You have to be mean to me.
We'll see how those do.
You have to be mean, Stone. You have to be mean to me.
I'm sorry, Lorne. I knew you were going to react.
You're for movies for me, clearly.
What if
look, I want Maggie as my secretary, so I'm willing to watch it.
Hands on the table.
Yeah. On the table.
I mean, did we not learn that you can get Jennifer Biel and Sting in a movie, Bride of Frankenstein remake, and it's still not going to work? Have we not learned this? There's zero chance that this is ever going to work out right.
You know what's strange about this year? The Stranger Things kids are directing movies now.
What?
Finn Wolfhard's got a slasher comedy coming out this year. I forget the name. Somebody will probably drop it in the chat, but yeah, that's
why
getting old.
American horror is just getting old, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take that as an opportunity to mention, because it is important, because nobody's talking about it, but there is an Argentinian film, Deus Irae, and it's a possession film of sorts, but much like When Evil Lurks, when it's a different region's, touch on it, it's much different and very good. Should be checked out. Not a lot of people are talking about it at all, unfortunately.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Time.
I know.
Yeah, because I wasted time watching another fucking movie this week instead of that.
Yeah, I mean, I also wasted time watching Fangs.
You can't waste time watching Bats with the great Blue Diamond Films.
The Bat topic, which I know will be coming up, was inspired by Lorne's Bat People video. So that's how that happened.
Bat People is a better film than Hard Eyes. I don't remember. I still don't remember a thing about Bat People. I'm willing to say that.
I will probably rewatch Bat People more, but I do have a special place in my heart for Bat movies. I don't know why.
Batman?
Nothing to do with Batman. I know that much. There was, when I was very, very little, a bat got into our house.
Oh,
and
cool.
I remember my mom losing her mind. And I don't know
if that's
the origin of it.
Oh.
You don't want to get bit or scratched by a bat.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah. I have a friend that got bitten by a raccoon.
Oh.
Fun shots they probably
Did
had
they
to
turn
get.
into a raccoon?
Mm-hmm. And it was rabid.
Oh,
she's
you ever seen like people like the old?
Don't
video
worry, Michelle,
footage?
you're gonna be fine.
Have you seen like the old video footage of like people like who have rabies? It looks like the worst fate on the planet.
That's pretty awful.
So like, sorry, quick rabies story. Not really. But bat related, because when I was in high school, for some reason, this bat had like died in the soda machine area, you know, where the cans dispense.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of kids like found it and were like tossing it around. I'm guessing like a hacky sack. Hacky sack was popular. I swear they had to come over the intercom and be like, don't touch the dead bat. They have
Why was there a bat that was dead that was known about that couldn't be removed? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But there had to be an announcement. Walk around the bat.
Yeah, kids got to it first. But yeah, and then there was another time when I was still training in wrestling. A bat got into the building, and everybody was like, "Fuck! There's a bat! Get out of the ring!" So my ex at the time, he was like getting down, and he was like using the top rope and to like climb down, and he let it go, and for some reason the top rope snaps, perfectly hits this bat and knocks it out.
Ouch. I don't know if he's still a thing, but there's this guy, the New Jersey Batman, used to go to Chiller all the time. Dude like lives with bats, like hundreds of bats. I don't even know how it's legal, but yeah. They can be sweet, apparently. Google bats eating watermelon.
I like bats more than I like most people, so.
Those are specific types of bats.
I definitely like bats more than anyone involved in making hard eyes.
And I'm sorry to bring up bats because I don't know if we had an intro for that or if that was even the next segment. So
I think
it's the last segment. You have a whole half hour, but Dan's just jumping not the shark, the bat.
I'm jumping.
He's excited about bats, man.
It's my fault too. I'm sorry. I had bat stories.
I've got 2 bat stories ready to go, which makes me wonder how many bat stories do you actually have?
How does everybody have like at least one bat story? Like like every regular day,
No,
you don't
like
have any
the only bat story I have is like, hey, there's a bat. That's the only bat story.
It's exciting to see one.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, a bat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rarity.
They are cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so are we done talking about this fucking movie or what?
Yeah, I don't think
Hard eyes.
Never speak about Heart Eyes ever again.
Oh, yeah.
Can we pretend it doesn't really exist?
I'm going to show up to Full Moon Con, whatever the fuck it's called in Nashville, with that fucking hood with the hard eyes.
Oh, it's going to be a popular mask. I think Lauren's going to throw some trick-or-treat candy at somebody wearing one.
Oh, this is going to be a thing for sure.
But it's such a transparent attempt to do. We're going to make a horror icon. Yay! We're not going to try. We're just going to have fucking heart-shaped eyes. It's so shitty. It's so bad.
Lauren,
I think that's the only thing you get now.
I'm going to pitch this to you. You need to buy some of those like little toothbrushes that people would give away for trick-or-treat. Have them ready just in case you see a hard eyes mask. And that's what you put in
pennies.
I'm going to just, the first cosplayer as Heart Eyes at a convention that I say, I'm just going to walk up to and start screaming in his face. Or her face, depending which Heart Eyes they're portraying, I guess.
Depends. Depends.
All right, we are done with this.
Okay.
Oh, Stone. You were the only genetic match in the whole lot. But now my experiment using alien DNA as a commutable pathogen can commence. Wakey, wakey.
Jessica.
Damn, I've never seen that cut at the end of Evangelion.
We need to cosplay as Undead Stone at this point.
I always rise for Jessica.
If you've been following the story, yes, you do.
Jessica can't be here tonight. She's going through some stuff, so everyone keep her in your heart. Don't necessarily pray because I don't support that, but definitely keep her in your thoughts. Think good thoughts. Not everyone's going through the best times.
Absolutely.
But I will force her to return at some point. Don't worry.
Yes, yes.
I will threaten to show her heart eyes. Anyway, so we were going to discuss heartbreaking horror next. And this is an open forum topic, so however you guys took this is what we should roll with. Oh, go Stone.
Go for it.
I got 2 picks for heartbreaking horror, and they're both from 1986. One of the great masterpieces, one of the great remakes, of course, is David Cronenberg's The Fly, which plays like a Greek tragedy. I mean, to be perfectly honest, and how this relationship forms, and then it's compromised because one person gets severely ill and deteriorates physically and psychologically. And it's hard to watch. It's very, very hard to see Jeff Goldblum go through what he's going through. And I mean, Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, by the way, were actually an item during the making of the movie. So that it adds a little bit of verisimilitude to the relationship, I think. And yeah, I mean, just when he starts going off the rails, he starts going to a bar and arm wrestles a guy and breaks his wrist, and then goes back with another lady he wants to impress and have sex with.
Ever.
Yeah. It's just amazing, and it's powerful. I mean, at the end, it's very, very sad because you basically just end on Gina Davis crying. Yeah. I mean, it's a love story, and how it's compromised by this fly that just lands where it doesn't belong, and things happen. The other one I had, which I know there's a lot of people that would prefer the original in this case over the remake, but to me it is Little Shop of Horrors. I really love the relationship between Rick Moranis, who is this nebbish working at a flower shop, and he's in love with this woman who has a boyfriend, a macho dentist played by Steve Martin, who loves to operate on people's mouths without Novocaine. That is until Bill Murray shows up and actually, gets off on no Novocaine. In the original, it was Jack Nicholson. In the remake, it's Bill Murray. But look, when she starts singing "Suddenly Seymour," I mean, it is romantic as hell. Okay, it really is. And the final thing I'll say is that there are 2 versions of Little Shop of Horrors out there. One is more based on the musical, which was off Broadway, where, spoiler, she actually gets eaten by Audrey too. Yeah, in the theatrical version, they actually end up together and they're happy and everything. But what happened was Frank Oz, the director, realized, okay, this is a perfect example of why a theater audience is really different than a film audience. When the original film ended with her being eaten and the Audrey 2s taking over the city, the audience hated it. Because, I mean, look, on stage, your characters come out and they take a bow. On film, they don't do that. And yeah, I'm paraphrasing Frank Oz here. Look, I've seen the uncut version with that alternate ending, and I can see how it could work on a stage better than on screen, obviously. But because that's the thing, is that the preview audiences were appalled by the theatrical ending, and that's why they had to do a rush job and fix it. And thankfully, that footage was found years later, and they put it on the DVDs and Blu-rays. But I'm a huge fan of Little Shop of Horrors. I love the music. I love John Candy in it. I love Steve Martin in it. I love Bill Murray in it. And I love Rick Moranis in it. And, of course, Ellen Greene, who was the only transfer from the original show. Yeah, that's Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Stone?
Sure.
About Fly? I think the Fly
What's
is...
wrong with Little Shop of Horrors? Didn't the effects impress you at least?
Did I say anything about Little Shop of Horrors?
Oh no!
He was
What the
reading your
question?
mind.
No,
what?
Fly's ending. I don't. The Fly is like one of those films that I think is like impressive on every level. The very end of The Fly, I always thought was a missed opportunity, though.
The gun moment.
The gun moment, exactly. Because here's the thing: in the original novella and in the original film, a hydraulic press is used to kill the fly, right? So I always thought there was a specific reason that we kept getting shots of that fucking elevator. I thought for sure she was going to use the elevator to crush his head, which would neatly map to the original source material. Instead, we got the shotgun ending, which just seems, I don't know, even arbitrary a little bit. I don't know. Do you guys, I mean, does that ending work for you completely? I think the film is stronger before it.
It works. I see what you're saying, though. I mean, I think the best moment in the entire movie is the insect politics speech.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that is just the height of it. I mean, he's still there, but just hanging on, and I think that's the definition of heartbreaking horror. But yeah, no, that movie is just so fucking good. Again, the most accessible, I guess, David Cronenberg movie. I mean, it's totally commercial, but he still hammers out a masterpiece. That movie is just amazing. I've been obsessed with it and David Cronenberg ever since, and that is a good pick. I think if you make a top 10 for this, that's got to be up there. Different ways to interpret heartbreaking, though, for sure. So there's there's some that are heartbreaking in a different way.
One addendum to the ending to carry on from Lauren's point. I think that there are people that don't like the fact that Stathis Borns, the ex-boyfriend of Gina Davis in the movie, that he, in a way, he reluctantly becomes the hero at the end. I don't think there are people that like that.
Yeah, I love that
specifically. Oh, you really? Okay. I mean, I can see that bothering people, but I mean, I was always fine with the ending. I mean, especially when you see the makeup fall off his face when he goes into the full transformation. I mean, by God, I mean those makeup effects deserve that Academy Award by far. And Jeff Goldblum deserved a nomination for Best Actor, but of course he wasn't going to get it.
Not at that time.
Not that time.
He does a lot of just scenery chewing comedy now. I think people forget, like, he's a damn fine actor when he wants to be.
Oh yeah.
When he has the material.
I think it kind of goes into what you were just talking about with Little Shop of Horrors, though. So I kind of wish they'd just gone with the original ending, for Little Shop, because their fear seems to me that, the audience felt something uncomfortable. Well, fuck you. Let's make people uncomfortable. If you're genuinely feeling something, let's do that. And I think that's where it's like, if the guy who was kind of the secondary villain of the film turns out to be the hero in the end, and you have to reassess, and maybe you're a little bit uncomfortable with that. Good. Life is messy. Let's go there. Let's feel things we haven't felt before. If you just want to feel the same shit over and over, you're going to get those Star Wars prequels, right? We got to have another lightsaber battle. Isn't it exciting? No, it's really not, because we've seen it a million times, but it makes you feel all warm and nostalgic, right? No, it means you feel nothing, but you intellectually go, I liked it before, so I guess I like it now.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
That movie goes well with also Altered States, who Blair Brown, who plays Emily, the wife of William Hurt's character in that. I think very heartbreaking. Good one to pair up with The Fly. Both brilliant movies.
Like Kramer versus Kramer with lots of psychedelics.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And one that it does come up once in a while for this, and I'm not going to give away the exact ending. If you've seen it, but Kill List, The Hunchback. I'll just put it that way. The Hunchback ending in that one certainly qualifies for heartbreaking horror. That one, what a great ending. The Orphanage is another one. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's on the list.
Okay, I wasn't going in depth on any of these, so but
it's okay, you can have it. It's fine.
The Orphanage, again, and I know not everybody's seen this movie, so I won't just spell out the ending or anything, but when a certain character realizes what they have done, I think that is about as hard hitting and heartbreaking as we get in horror. That very, very strong. And The Orphanage is a fantastic movie. It has sort of gained it has sort of gained an audience to a certain degree, but I still feel like it's not discussed enough because it is, I think, a modern classic. And when it came out, I don't think it had much of a theatrical release to speak of. So, yeah, I know it did.
I had to drive to Sayreville, which is like an hour 10 from me.
Yeah, it was very limited. So it kind of slipped under a lot of people's radar. And yeah, what an amazing and just heartbreaking film. I saw The Devil, which is just kind of about the consequences of revenge. You get it, and it's not what you thought it would be. But yeah, I could go all day. Possum. That movie just in general is like wallowing in fucking heartbreak. So yeah. Hot tag. Sorry. I'm hammering out everybody's picks.
I mentioned it before, but Final Girls.
Oh, yeah.
If you're okay when mom dances into the field, you are not human. I mean, that is a break you moment. And it's just that movie again, as I discussed before, like you could take the slasher thing and imbue it with other things than just a body count thriller.
Oh,
and Final Girls does that brilliantly. It makes it a film about grief, about the loss of a parent. And in doing so, it gives you everything you want from a slasher film, but so much more. And I think that's really what I expect now. If you're going to do an archetype movie, if you're going to do a slasher film in particular, then I want something like Final Girls or like Game Over, whereas the emotional range is greater because you're actually doing something, not just recreating the iconography of films that are now 40 years old. I don't need you to do a beat per beat remake of Halloween 2 at this point. I just don't need that. But if you're going to make a film about the consequences of assault.
Yeah.
I'm down. You're going to make a film about the loss of a parent. God, that's awesome. The other film I would say is that it would be on my list for like some of the greatest heartbreaking horror is The Dark of the Wicked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which will just beat you up as a film. And again, that's a film about grief, which I think is the strongest movement in horror right now is discussing grief. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to believe that came out right around the same time as Relic, too, another heartbreaker.
Yeah, Relic is simply amazing as well, which is again that's that continuity thing. Like when you lose a parent, you lose part of your history. That lineage, it gets broken. It's a kind of terrifying thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have one that's kind of a cheat because it's not an outright horror film, but it is a movie about horror, a horror fan. And that's sadly, Robert Hall's Lightning Bug, which I think if you grew up a horror fan, at least a lot of us, before, maybe today it's not quite as bad, but it is a Southern Gothic coming of age drama about somebody growing up a horror fan, and it's essentially about Robert Hall's life, and that one is, you can see yourself in it, even if you didn't go through quite what he went through. It's great. I mean, Kevin Gage is Earl, the evil stepdad. I mean, God, talk about character actors that don't get enough credit. I mean, he just comes off as an evil, vile bastard in that. Ashley Lawrence of Hellraiser fame does some of her best acting in it, and Robert Hall was interesting because he was doing effects work since the early 90s. I believe he started on the Abel Ferrara film Body Snatchers. And usually when these effects guys turn directors, they're like directing like the sixth film in a dying franchise or something. But he makes his director debut with this just really great indie drama. And Lightning Bug is one I think everybody should check out if they can. Not sure if the Blu-ray's still in print or not.
I'm not sure if any Blu-rays are still in print.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'll have to check. Well, you could probably get the old DVD, I'm sure, whether it's in print or not.
Well, the DVD is probably in print, though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
By the way, I would have chosen Warm Bodies, except for the fact that it had one of the most disappointing endings where it had the perfect setup for an erection joke. And it didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
I was so upset. It's PG-13. They could have gotten away with it.
Sam, what breaks your heart?
Lots of shit. But like Dark Water, both versions, both the English and the Japanese version, I cry every time I watch either one of those movies. And it's like every couple of years I have to watch it and be like, oh, yep, still makes me sad. Still can't do this like on the regular. And it sucks because they're both very good movies.
You mentioned Eliza Lamb's parents watching that movie.
Oh God, yeah. Eliza Lamb, the
not inspiration for it. That's the crazy part.
No,
it's exactly the story, but not the inspiration.
That is such a macabre. Oh, drinking the water. Oh my God, for like
the whole apartment building is drinking the fucking water with a dead corpse.
For like a month. Oh my gosh. Although I will be honest, there's not much of a mystery there when you really dive into that story.
I don't think so.
No pun intended, right? Dive in.
There you go. That's more Lawrence type of humor.
I have both of my fur babies in here, and they've decided that they're going to raise hell. Come on.
Yeah, mine was reacting to your cat earlier on the screen. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And she's just like, I think that's a cat.
Yeah, she just wants pets. She knows that this is the time when anytime I'm talking in front of the computer, especially like if I've got a meeting or something like that, she's up on my lap because she knows that's the time to get pets and be adorable.
Yeah.
One more thing about The Fly I was going to mention real quick is that it's funny. 2 years later, Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis would make another movie together, which was Earth Girls Are Easy, and I'm going to have the screenwriter Julie Brown sign it this weekend. So
that movie is so good. It's such wonderful cheese that like it's not. Yeah. It's also not like one of those movies that everybody talks about. It's not in the zeitgeist all the time. So when you get to see it, you kind of feel like you've uncovered a hidden gem, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But Gina Davis in that bikini, oh my God.
Oh.
Jeff Goldblum, you are a lucky guy.
And don't
Be
forget,
careful. That's how you became the undead. Be careful.
And it's also got Damon Wayans and Jim Carrey and Julie Brown.
Yeah.
It is a stacked cast.
Yeah.
Very, very stacked.
Animated wise, of course, Watership Down.
Oh yeah, I do rewatch.
That is a horror movie. I'm not taking any bullshit from anyone. That is a horror movie, and that is a depressing fucking movie all the way through.
Yeah, we need a return to that type of animated. I don't know if they would even classify it as kids' films anymore, but
well, they don't make films for adults. So, I mean, like, I see R-rated films all the time that are for children. I'm sorry, and the American cinema is all about like this PG-13 fodder. That's oh well, look, remember when you were a kid, you liked this thing, so we made a film for kids, but it's really for adults. I don't need another fucking Ninja Turtle movie. I don't need any actually, but when that's mainstream entertainment, not considered kids entertainment, that's a fucking problem, dudes.
Again, though, you go overseas. I mean, and this is not disturbing, but Flow, brilliant little animated movie. The animation may not hit for everybody, but you can still make meaningful, interesting animated films that can appeal to kids, in my opinion. But we don't.
No. Well, we don't make movies for adults anymore. We just don't in this country. I mean, it is frightening how few films that you would say, okay, I won't show this to my kid. I mean, the ratings are fucking arbitrary as hell. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
No, it no longer makes any sense. There is no more G-rated films coming out. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So everything, at the very least, is a PG. Most everything is a PG-13. Some of it rises to R, but the R of today feels like the PG-13 of years gone by. Sure, more blood is allowed than that was allowed back in the day, but realistically, like, nothing has any stakes. Nothing hurt.
Yeah.
I want movies that hurt. I want to feel shit.
Oh yeah. No,
we need more X-rated movies like Midnight Cowboy and A Clockwork Orange to come back.
Correct.
Definitely.
There's a lot of people, and it kills. Yeah. It kills me because I hear this a lot from different like horror fans who will tell me like, I just don't like to feel that uncomfortable. And
you picked the wrong genre, dude. It's called horror.
Yeah, there's like so many moments where I was like, remember how you felt when you said, still a commercial movie, but when you saw Candyman in the theater, I mean, goddamn, was I shaken when I left that theater. I like feeling that once in a while.
But so there's the scene in Candyman, right, where Virginia Madsen is covered in blood and she's forced to strip in the police station. Holy God, no one's okay watching that. It's a horrifying moment, and it's not some big special effect or whatever. I mean, there's fake blood on her, but it's just the indignity of it is uncomfortable and it's palpable, and that's why I go to movies. If the shit I can feel in my regular life, I can laugh at stupidity in real life. I don't need a film to do that, but I can't experience that moment from Candyman on the street. I can't.
No.
I want to live my life having experienced as much as I can. Some of it you can't safely experience except in movies. So let's do it there.
Yeah. I mean, those are the ones that stick with you, and obviously, something like Hard Eyes, I can at least get a few laughs out of that. So I don't I like the movie well enough, but man, the shit you remember and the stuff that sticks with you forever, Hereditary, Candyman, those movies that really want to just drag you into the pit. And I like that in horror. That's what it should be. Not always. I mean, horror is a broad,
it's a big umbrella, but there's a difference. Like, if all we get is the silly surface stuff all the time, well, then you're not even going to feel anything towards that after a certain point. And I've hit that wall. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, everyone always talks about the Terrifier films being so extreme, and I just don't feel they are. I just don't react at all to them, which is why I keep saying they're not my thing. I support them existing. They have their audience. That's awesome, but I don't feel anything. It's like watching a television show that with the sound off to me. You know, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go back when I was at what 11 years old, when I was sitting in that theater watching Friday the 13th Final Chapter, not a specifically smarter film than the Terrifier films, but man, moments like the coroner's head being hacksawed and then turned around 360 felt like something. Because as awkward as that motherfucker was, I felt like there was enough of a character there that you're like, holy shit, that's a lot. I don't kind of feel anything during a lot of modern horror, and that's, or at least domestic modern horror, and that's it's kind of the worst thing that could have happened to me, honestly.
That's why I'm wondering what this new Final Destination movie is going to be like. I mean, part of me does want to see it just because it's the last film of the late, great Tony Todd. We haven't had a Final Destination film in 14 years. From what I understand, this is going to be a little bit more harder, edgier, like R-rated compared to the PG-13 previous ones. I don't know.
They were all R-rated, though. All of the Final
Destination. Oh, well, they feel more like PG-13 movies.
I mean, they're gory.
I agree, Stone. I like the second film a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, the series itself doesn't come off as like uncomfortable ever, or
no,
I don't know. It's fun gore, and that can work in a really good film. But I mean, I like the Final Destination series just fine, but I couldn't tell you which death belongs to which film outside the second film. I couldn't do it. All right, so we went from depressing to fun to depressing. I guess we should move on, because I think what needs to come next is a whole lot of fun.
I did the thing. I kept our deal, our covenant. Now get this thing out of me.
Of course, Daniel Schein. A deal is, after all, a deal.
Now kill the fucking thing.
I'm afraid that was not part of our deal. And now for a bit of my special sauce to make sure he grows up bigger and stronger.
Now, I've got to warn the others. What could go wrong?
Fucking gross.
Special sauce.
Oh, that's awful.
Should have been the steak sauce. Yeah.
The gooeyest episode of Region Free yet.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get gooier. So bats on film. Dan pitched this segment, so I'll let him lead it off.
Absolutely. So I mean, there's not like a ridiculous amount of bat movies. There really isn't. Even actually, if you dive into like the Sci-Fi Channel, which I know Sam did watch one, there's not a lot. It is a creature that I feel is underrepresented in cinema, and I'm not talking vampire stuff. I'm talking just
bats. Yeah, exactly. It's challenging.
It is, and it kind of all begins really, at least the creature feature side of it. Not begins, but one that kind of kicked it off, I guess, or should have kicked it off if it was more successful, was 1979's Nightwing from director Arthur Hiller. It was an adaptation of the 1977 Martin Cruz Smith book of the same name. And I saw that one a little bit later, and it did finally get a Blu-ray, which I thought I had handy, and I do not at the moment, a double feature from Mill Creek with Shadow of the Hawk, so you can see it. But that was like my first bat fix like this, and I was like, man, I like bats. It was probably around the time that bat got loose in our house and nearly gave my mom a stroke. But this was the one that kicked it off. Nick Mancuso, who, if people don't remember Nick Mancuso, he was kind of figured in to be a really big star. He is a very, very Italian Native American in this movie, but that's how the casting went at the time. And he was the runner-up. Well, not really the runner-up, actually the third, to play Indiana Jones, and that didn't happen. So Nick Mancuso had more of a B movie career playing the Marquis de Sade and Roger Corman TV movies and roles like that. But he does headline this one, some beautiful New Mexico locations. And I have a soft spot in my heart for it. I mean, you can maybe mock some of the effects work in it now, but I'll still say I think it holds up and is more frightening than we get with modern CG. Great cast. David Warner is in here. Stephen Mock, another almost huge name because he was one of the runners up for Jean-Luc Picard. Could have been cashing some bigger checks if that happened. I like this movie. There's something about creature features around this time that I really just enjoy. I mean, occasionally getting to see the actual animal it was always nice. Roar comes up a lot here, and that one's a totally different story. But I wanted to throw this one out because it is on YouTube. It looks good. It's a good print, and it's another movie that I don't think a lot of people saw. It was not successful, and it's I'm not gonna say it's a great movie, but I think it's fun, and I have a soft spot in my heart for it. And
not successful, but it's from the director of Love Story. How couldn't have been?
Strange choice of a director too. Like very random if you look at his filmography, and it's like Nightwing. What's going on here? But that one and I do. There is one that I think is a fantastic Bat movie, although it does actually incorporate something else. But one movie that I wanted to talk about because I have a soft spot in my heart for it for a different reason. It came out in October of 1999, and it is Bats with Lou Diamond Phillips and Dina Meyer, who I always had a crush on back then, and I always thought would have a bigger career because she's a fantastic actress. Yeah, she's really, really good.
I love Dina Meyer.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff. I don't mean to imply that she has not had a good career, but this movie was conceived and shot in record time. It was like 5 months from, getting the script and being released in October. And that was a rough year. My grandfather was sick. We got a cat.
Oh, somebody else has a cat this time.
Yeah, we've got another cat distraction. I hope mine don't see. But yeah, it was just one of those movies. Not much was coming out that particular October. We're still very much in that Scream wave of movies, which was not my favorite. And I was really, really excited to see Bats, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I love Lou Diamond Phillips. I love Dina Meyer, and it was just a good creature movie. And truth be told, this one's got a reputation as it was somehow like a big flop. It actually made a very healthy profit. This was, I think, Destination Films' first major release at the time. And I think it grossed like over 30 million on a $6 million budget. which to think you could get a creature feature made for that little money at the time, I think we have something to learn there. But I don't know. Nobody talks about it. I don't know if anybody has any feelings about that one. I assume you guys have seen Bats at some point, but maybe not.
Way too long for me to really remember it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Need to revisit.
I saw it in theaters, and I think that's the last time I saw it.
Okay. Yeah. I it's just one, again, I'm not like you must go out and see it, but it holds a special place in my heart. It really does.
Quick question about Nightwing and Bats. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was making a stupid joke.
Do they? Oh yeah. Do they use real bats in either movie?
Mixture of both. But
yeah, mechanical
well,
and okay.
Yeah, obviously you can see the progression of effects. I mean, now, yeah, you're not seeing any real bats, unfortunately. But yeah, they did have a few real ones in Bats, and it's a fun movie. I watched it again, and I'm like, okay, I still have a good time with it. It's amazing to me that you can,
do they,
get
blow
that
the
done.
bats up in a church at the end? Is that what I'm remembering?
No, you're remembering the end of Fangs, actually.
Fangs.
Oh, yes.
Only I think it was like a barn, not a church.
Something
like that.
The Corbin Bernsen Bat movie.
Maybe there's something about bat movies in my memory then. Maybe as soon as you put a bat in a movie, I can't remember it.
It does tend to end with them just trying to blow them up, more or less.
Fangs pissed me off to no end because, again, it's like it's filmed like a TV movie. That look of the film, and I'm just like, I'm so angry just watching it. And of course, everything is fucking insipid and dumb, and it's just, it seems like it's just a random sitcom episode. Only it's an hour and a half, and it's about bats attacking.
Are any of the bats wearing a mask with heart-shaped eyes?
It's worse. It's worse. It was like, it reminded me a lot of American Psycho 2 because it was like filmed very similarly and had that same kind of like weird score happening. And so it just stirred up all of those old emotions. And then the way they basically like defeat the bats. I mean, before they blow them up, because they have to stop the bats from ruining the apple blossom dance.
Yes.
Real thing. And so you've got like one person who's manning like a spotlight, and then the other two are throwing up what's supposed to be like Coke cans, like aluminum cut up so that the light will reflect off of them. But instead it's just shiny confetti. And then the bats go sideways and just collide with different things and knock themselves out. But then later they get blown up.
Remember that. I know I've seen both films, but I don't remember that.
Yeah. And it's like, and then the male protagonist asks the female protagonist, why didn't the bats attack her? And she never actually says why. But then I look at it and she's wearing like a sequined jacket. And I'm irretrievably angry. I'm so angry I cannot not retrieve my anger.
Yeah, you went with one of the lesser bat films.
I seem to do that. But I have to say, like, the bat effects for 2002, they were okay. They weren't bad.
Yeah, actually, that late 90s, early 2000s, when like we kind of go hard into the Sci-Fi Channel creature feature.
We weren't there yet, all the way.
Yeah, no, you get there and it's never really totally stopped. But some of those movies look better than you think. You go back and watch something like Octopus or Spiders, and it's like, oh, actually, it's some pretty cool makeup and some decent creature effects still at that point.
Yeah.
But I feel bad you watched that one because there is an excellent bat movie that's not just a bat movie, in fairness, but called The Roost by Ty West, which if you watch The Roost, I don't know exactly what the budget was on this one, but talk about being able to do something of quality for nothing. Like, this is very low budget. It's from Glass Eye Picks. Larry Fessenden picked it up, and the way they incorporate, because this has a horror host gimmick. Tom Noonan plays the host of Frightmare Theater, and the unconventional way that they tie that into the story is really interesting. I mean, it's basically simple setup, car accident, friends are stranded, and they go for help at this deserted farm. And spoiler alert, there are vampire bats that have taken up residence. This really probably is the best of this wave of movies. And also 2005, I believe it came out. This is like the one that I think you might actually remember if you see it. It's easy to see how Ty West went on to bigger things. And I won't spoil too much of the story, but it is more than just, bats killing people in a farm. It's well worth checking out. Not sure about the DVD situation on this one, but it is on YouTube currently, and I do recommend it. It's actually a pretty tense, scary little low budget movie. Yeah.
Nice.
Lauren, I hope we didn't eat up all the Bat movies. I don't know if you have one.
No, I mean, Ghost Town.
I got 2 picks, even though I'm kind of cheating a little bit because there's very few Bat movies out there. But look, Lauren, when you posted your Bat People video, I was like, oh my God, I saw Bat People when I was 12 on television. And then I reviewed it when I wrote for DVD Verdict. I reviewed a MGM Midnight Madness double feature with that and the Beast Within, which was written by Tom Holland and came out in 1982. A couple things about Bat People. One thing that Lauren didn't mention in this video is that actually that was the very first film job for Stan Lee Winston. Back then, he billed himself as Stanley Winston, not Stan Winston.
Was that before Octoman?
That was before Octoman. What year was that?
Octoman, because that was shot and then it came out a little bit later.
It's got to be early.
Bat People was 74.
Yeah, I think after.
I thought it was after. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
well,
pretty sure.
Stanley was 28 years old at the time, and literally all he did was create a bat hand and a bat mask.
Octoman 71.
Oh shit!
Oh.
But I do believe it came out later. That one had a complicated production.
It came out after Bat People.
Well, it's barely a movie.
Yeah,
barely a movie. And the other thing I was going to mention was I far prefer the Mystery Science Theater version of Bat People, which is It Lives by Night. When they're in the jacuzzi on their honeymoon and he takes a drink, he spits it out because he has an episode. And Crow says, "Oh, Bailey's and pickle juice." Oh. The other Bat film I was going to mention but it's Bat adjacent. And I do think it kind of qualifies. It is actually the Mothman Prophecies.
Oh yeah,
I saw the Mothman Prophecies in the theater. I didn't know I didn't know about the Mothman story at that time. All I knew was I loved Richard Gere and Laura Linney in a courtroom thriller called Primal Fear. So I went and checked out the Mothman Prophecies, and it had its creepy moments. It was kind of a disappointment because it didn't really say much about the Mothman. And after I've heard stories that the book is actually better. The book came out in 75. But
all the Mothman stuff is in the first 20 pages.
It's all in the first
all UFO stuff.
After looking
Sorry.
No, after doing a deep dive into that whole Mothman phenomena, I'm inclined to believe it was an owl. Because they actually shot an owl that had a massive, massive wingspan. And yes, it did have red eyes. They have it on display at the Point Pleasant Museum. And of course, they've had Mothman festivals every year for the past 20 years because hey, they need to make tourist movies money somehow, right? But as a film, it's perfectly acceptable. It does have some creepy moments, decent performances. It just doesn't resonate really.
It doesn't gel into anything, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the story, though.
Yes.
I don't know. It definitely does have its moments. Ingrid Cold is a great non-character.
Yeah.
Right? It's a conceptual character, which is a great concept for horror. But I don't believe any of it, by the way. But yeah, I don't even think it was an owl. I think just people made up the story just to get some newspapers writing about them. I don't know. Oh, do you have another one, Stone?
Oh, that was it. Bat People and Mothman prophecies. I can't think of anything else. I mean,
well, I can't think of Bat People for more than a minute before it's gone again. So
that's what inspired it. You mentioned me, and I was like, need to do bats.
So I don't think it's a good film either. But Chosen Survivors is a bat film.
Yeah,
that's not very good. It was during that weird period where they tried to make large ensemble cast movies, and they thought that was kind of going to draw people in. It's kind of a weirdly, to borrow a Stone word, adjacent to like the Towering Inferno type of thing, but it's far, far worse than that. I don't suggest you actually watch it as anything more than a curiosity from the time period it was made. What I wanted to talk about, though, is it's not a bat movie, but it is a critical scene involving a bat in a great horror film. And that is in House by the Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
At a crucial moment, the father, Marco Polo's character, comes home and a bat has come up from the basement. Lucio Fulci was making a film as a reaction to The Shining. And to an extent, he did that already with The Beyond, but House by the Cemetery is even more so. And although I think The Beyond is a more celebrated film, I think House by the Cemetery deserves credit for being a bit deeper of a film.
They're close. I mean, I don't have a big argument if you want to say one's you favor over the other.
I prefer House, but I mean, I love both a lot. Like, they're both top 25 films of all time films for me. But a bat has come up from the basement, and the House by the Cemetery of the title is actually just talking about the family. And the basement is obviously talking about the past and the subconscious at the same time. So the bat is not a physical bat. It is a living, breathing metaphor on film. And it comes up and it attacks the family. If you watch how the scene is actually shot, you're actually seeing a memory of this father who physically attacked his family, which is a recurring theme from the previous researcher who lived in the house and Dr. Freudstein himself. So like The Shining, you have this repetition, which is actually meant to just talk about the cycle of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Here made a flesh cycle of violence, but it's an idea, really. And the bat comes up and attacks, and it allows the sequence to visually give you this scene that the movie's otherwise missing. You never get a flashback to Marco Polo's character actually doing what he clearly did to his family. I don't get why people don't get this movie, by the way, but whatever. But we code it through this bat, this rabid bat that has gotten into the kitchen, and the whole family are there, and we get this ultimate scene where Marco Polo stabs the bat with a knife, which is a completely improbable thing if you think about it, right? It's absurd, and it's intentionally absurd. It's supposed to hint you on that something more is happening here. The same way as when the babysitter character, Anne, doesn't notice all the violence around her, right? She doesn't get it because it's not real. Literally, she's cleaning blood off the floor as we see it, and she asks just rotely, "Do you want me to make coffee?" It's not the movie being weird. It's telling you that there's two versions of events happening simultaneously. Different characters are seeing things very different. But it's not dumbing it down. It's not telling you. You're not going to get that, and I love the Saw movies, but you're not going to get that big Saw revelation where it points it out. Hey, look, this is what we're doing. Shaky cam. Here's that familiar music. You're not going to get that. But the bat is kind of a perfect metaphor device because it's already this gothic image, right? So it works on a surface level plot element, and it's not too absurd that a rabid bat would come out of your basement.
No.
But it allows all that visual information to just be smuggled into the film. And I think a master filmmaker can take any animal, any creature, any idea, any prop. It could be a book, it could be a lampshade, and imbue it with meaning. And to me, it's my favorite scene of a bat in film history, even though as a special effect goes, it's not perfect. Just like the spiders in The Beyond are not a perfect special effect. In fact, they're far worse than the bat in House by the Cemetery. But you don't care, right? You don't really care. The spell isn't broken because they're imbued with such power because of the level of filmmaking. And that makes me wonder, of course, with the modern CGI era, were the CGI effects in the original Jurassic Park really that much better? Or are we just that invested in the film that we don't notice that it's a kind of digital effect like any other from that period?
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of the two. I do think it's pretty great special effects in Jurassic Park, but I also think the movie is carrying those special effects because the story, the performance, the mood, the atmosphere, the way humor is used, which, by the way, is not like the dumb Marvel humor where all the tension decays because a joke is made. In the original Jurassic Park, a joke is made, you kind of laugh, but it's never made at the wrong time.
There are fantastic movies that you could pick at the effects. I see some people do it that just grew up on the shoddy CGI, and that's just what they're used to in their head. But there's some truly amazing films that are maybe dated effects wise, but I don't think dated's a bad thing in most cases.
Film has a weird temporal thing, right? Because when you're watching a film, when does that story take place? Does it take place in the now? Like at the moment, is this story taking place at the time you're sitting in the movie theater? I'm going to say most films that's not true of, right? Because movies by their nature, very few films are minute to minute, they're not shot in real time. So it can't be taking place now. And you could say that they take place in the future, I guess, but that gets thorny as fuck, and I don't like that. So all movies are taking place in the past at least a few minutes, or maybe a few hours, a few days. So from a logical, temporal storytelling standpoint. So to me, when a film has gotten older, it doesn't lose its relevance. The reason some of my favorite films are from the 30s is because I don't look at them as dated. They take place at a certain time.
Yeah.
Why would you want them to have a modern sensibility if they take place at a certain time? What are you doing there? I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Maybe you can have a movie about medieval jousting and put Queen in it, but I don't know. But but to me, that never felt like anything but a dumb gimmick. I would prefer films to look like the time period they are being made in because it's going to resonate a lot longer. I love late 60s psychedelic cinema. We're talking Fulci, one on top of the other, man. Check that shit out. A more psychedelic giallo you'll never see.
Yeah.
The swinging 60s all over the place. And I love it because it should look like that. And when a film today tries to imitate that, whether it's the Austin Powers thing or whatever, it always fails. Always fails. Because you can't really replicate a time period.
No, it's very hard.
You can nod towards it, but you can't really get there. Even Nosferatu, I mean, wonderfully stage dress film, but it doesn't really feel like it's age appropriate, right? So I think that when films age, we should allow them to exist in the time that they take. And sometimes those are dislocated times. Bride of Frankenstein is very cagey about when it takes place. There's a telephone in that movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
There are also tiny people in jars.
And I love those tiny people.
I know. Why does that look so much better than any other special effect these days?
It's absolutely 100% the best mapping ever.
Yeah.
And was done apparently very quickly, by the way, which is the scariest thing about it. So, yeah, the whole production of Bride of Frankenstein was not a long production.
It's weird.
No.
Yeah. And we're still missing, and will forever be missing, at least 14 minutes of movie that just was cut out because they felt it was too long.
And isn't that also wild that it's endured this long again, not without its roadblocks to production, but look at, perfect film.
84 years, right?
Yeah.
It's it's a hike. I know I've said this a million times and people get tired of hearing the same shit from me, but what other genre has classics endure like the horror genre?
Very, very few.
1931's Dracula and Frankenstein are still fucking watched religiously today. How many films from 31 and on another genre are being watched that often?
Small niche. There certainly are films I wish people were still watching in those genres, but yeah, no, horror has staying power above any other genre.
I would argue more horror films from the 30s are actually being watched today than in any other genre, maybe all genres combined.
Yeah. You can even go later than that, and like if even a teenager knows Frankenstein's monster. If I asked them if they've seen Singing in the Rain or Casablanca, they probably aren't going to know what those movies are, even though they're the most,
I guess Wizard of Oz is probably the most relevant non-horror 30s film.
Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe that's an exception to the rule, but you know what? Even that though, I would question. I don't believe my nieces or nephew ever watched Wizard of Oz. I don't know that you're going to get most kids now to watch something that old, which is kind of sad. Yeah, but I could be wrong.
Shit, guys, I'm in holding bay 6H and out of ammo. Anyone nearby?
We're all the way in C block.
Then stay there. You won't get here in time.
Yes.
It's okay. Not everyone gets a happy ending. Stone?
Is that William Blake's Red Dragon? All right. Reminded me of it.
Well, guys, we're closing out the episode. We have one more cold weather month episode of this season. There is 13 episodes in this season. Then we're going to take a couple months off before we come back. So you still got a few more months to deal with us.
But then we're just going to come back, so it won't even fucking matter. You still have to deal with us.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
You need to work on that video of, I just want dogs pissing on graves and then us coming out of the grave. I've got dogs. They're in the intro. I'll get another one.
And they piss fire like in Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
Yes, we will make it happen.
Was that not the fucking weirdest fucking decision to bring Freddy back? It's like, anything will work.
I loved it. That's exactly what I expected from the series at that point.
Well, it's probably what I expected from the series as well, but we have very, very different views on that. All right, guys. So anything you're excited about coming up in film that I won't go see?
Just for me, it's just that next Deus Irae or just gem that comes out of nowhere is what I most look forward to. But there's some other things. Just make sure to dig. You got to dig if you want to find the good stuff. Dig.
Is anyone else excited as hell to not go see another Captain America film.
Oh yeah,
I don't care about
I'm
that.
gonna not go see that all weekend long.
Yeah. No point.
Yeah, no. That is not one that you have to be excited about. We are getting back to a more traditional summer, though. I mean, they're at least trying. We got Jurassic Park, Fantastic Four, and what's the third one? There's three big.
Yeah, they're all within like 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah, they are. So they're not really learning. Help me out in the chat. There's three big blockbusters.
Isn't there another Mission Impossible coming in August as well?
Yeah, the last final reckoning.
The last
part 3.
final until the money comes through.
Yeah. Sorry, there is a third one and I can't think of it right now, but yeah. Jurassic Park, we're going back to another island.
Go figure. I mean, they put all the most dangerous dinosaurs on an island where no one was going to go for a couple more decades. Oh no.
Oh, Superman. There you go. That's the other one.
Yeah, I'm so excited not to go see that too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got the guy from Pearl in it who plays Superman this time, the projectionist. So good for him.
It's got a super dog in it too. I saw.
Yeah, that makes me even less excited. Like, because I said, you know what? I need a developmentally challenged Superman movie.
Look, if we can start off like just hit the ground running instead of having to do another origin movie, I'm this much closer to DC eventually getting to Blackest Night, Brightest Day, and maybe then I can have something I like.
Why does it have to be Jurassic Park? I'm still waiting on somebody to make their own for your dinosaur fix. Just do a different.
Dude, the dinosaur attacks cards. It's already branded. Just make that movie.
Yeah. Or you can tackle The Drive-In by Joe Lansdale.
Yep. What do you guys got on your channels coming up? Anything?
Tomorrow night we're gonna be live. Just because it's such a romantic movie, we are doing Ken Russell's Horror.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. So not so much for
last
man.
Great Ken Russell movie.
It was the answer to Pretty Woman. It was Ken Russell's answer to Pretty Woman.
A prostitute cuts her pimp's throat with a credit card. Life can't get better.
There's some big names in that movie.
Yes, there are. That was a VHS staple. That you rented that thing, and I hope no one noticed the title of what you're renting. It was amazing.
Yeah. And Horror 2 had nothing to do with it.
I never saw Horror 2.
Yeah.
Electric.
Is it Horror 2: The Horroring?
The Horroring. Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you, and have a great night. We will be back in a month to ruin another one of your evenings.
It's true. Internal log 0613-2024. The ship is a twisted mass of wreckage on the surface of an unmapped moon outside the boundaries of any charted system. The crew are dead. With any luck, this transmission will be picked up by the YouTube algorithm. And notifications will be sent, but who knows? This is Customer Service Specialist Sam, last survivor of the commercial data mining ship Imperium. Signing off. Good night.
The Visited by Voices Network is a consortium of content creators who explore genre art. Our collective aim is to jumpstart conversations in the horror community by providing unique viewpoints. We come to film and books with all the baggage and experiences from our everyday lives, and this allows us to see works through our own independent light prisms. At VBV Network, we reject groupthink, consensus, and social standards in regards to what makes narrative arts work. You may not often agree with us, but there'll always be a respectful place for you to add your opinion to the mix.
You're gonna shoot that pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle.